I am Brandy, a 34-year-old single mom with two amazing boys who light up my world. My sister Amelia has always been the family perfectionist, judging my parenting from her pristine suburban throne. When she announced her daughter Sophia's extravagant 10th birthday party, I expected the usual family gathering. What I never expected was the heart-shattering moment. Amelia declared my boys unwelcome because they were a bad influence. Where are you watching from today? Hit that like button and subscribe to follow along as I share how one magical Disneyland trip taught my sister that nobody messes with my children. Being a single mom working as a nurse is no walk in the park. My schedule involves juggling 12-hour shifts at the hospital while making sure Jackson 9 and Tyler 7 have everything they need. Some days I barely have time to breathe between dropping them off at school, racing to work, picking them up, helping with homework, cooking dinner, and tucking them in with bedtime stories. Despite the chaos, I would not trade my boys for anything in the world. Jackson is my little artist, with an imagination that knows no bounds. He transforms cardboard boxes into spaceships and can spend hours creating elaborate drawings of dinosaurs and robots. Tyler is my energetic ball of sunshine who excels at sports and making friends wherever he goes. Sure, they are spirited and occasionally rowdy, like most boys their age, but they are kind-hearted, respectful when it matters, and absolutely bursting with love. My parenting style has always been about balance. I believe in rules and consequences, but I also understand that children need space to express themselves, make mistakes, and learn from those experiences. My home is not a showcase from a magazine spread. We have fingerprints on the windows, toys sometimes scattered across the living room floor, and science experiments gone wrong staining the kitchen counter. But there is laughter, genuine conversations, and the beautiful chaos that comes with raising curious children. My sister Amelia could not be more different. Growing up, she was the perfect daughter who never missed a homework assignment, won every academic competition, and always pleased our parents. I was labeled the wild child, simply because I preferred sports to studying and questioned authority occasionally. This dynamic followed us into adulthood, with Amelia continuing to be the golden child in our parents' eyes. Amelia married Richard, a successful attorney, right after finishing law school. They settled in an exclusive neighborhood with their daughter Sophia in a house that looked like it belonged in Architectural Digest. Everything in Amelia's world was curated for perfection, from her immaculate garden to the professionally decorated interior of her home. Her social media accounts showcased a flawless family life with photos of homemade organic meals and sophisticated family outings. Sophia, their only child, reflected this carefully controlled environment. At 10 years old, she was polite, well-spoken, and accomplished in ballet and piano. She always wore pristine outfits with not a hair out of place. While sweet-natured Sophia was noticeably reserved around other children, especially those who were more boisterous, I often wondered if all that perfectionism left room for a real childhood. Family gatherings at Amelia's house were exercises in tension. My boys would arrive excited to see their cousin, only to face a barrage of rules. No running inside, no touching the decorative items, no raising voices, no playing in the formal living room. Every natural childlike behavior was met with Amelia's disapproving glance. By contrast, when they visited our apartment, Sophia would initially sit quietly uncertain how to join in the fun until my boys eventually coaxed her into building forts or playing tag in the backyard. Amelia never directly criticized my parenting in those early years, but her comments were laced with judgment. I noticed Jackson has trouble sitting still during dinner. Have you considered having him tested? Or Tyler certainly has a lot of energy. Perhaps more structured activities would help channel that. Each observation delivered with a smile, but cutting deep nonetheless. Despite these tensions, I worked hard to maintain family harmony. I prepared the boys before visits to Aunt Amelia's house, reminding them about indoor voices and careful movements. I brought activities to keep them occupied, and stepped in quickly if their excitement started bubbling over. Though exhausting, I believed family connections were important, especially since they had limited extended family after their father left when Tyler was just 2 years old. Our parents, now in their 60s, and living 30 minutes from Amelia in the suburbs, complicated matters further. During family discussions, they typically sided with Amelia on parenting approaches. "Brandy, dear children do need structure," my mother would say, after Amelia commented on my boys playing in the mud during a family barbecue. My father would nod in agreement, adding, "Sophia never gives Amelia and Richard any trouble." These comments stung, but I had grown accustomed to being the family disappointment. Last Thanksgiving illustrated our different worlds perfectly. Amelia hosted in her formal dining room with name cards, crystal glasses, and a table setting worthy of a magazine spread. Jackson accidentally knocked over his water glass, sending liquid across the white tablecloth. The look of horror on Amelia's face as she rushed for towels made him shrink in his chair. Later, I overheard her telling our mother, "This is exactly why we cannot have nice things around those boys." That night, I reassured Jackson that accidents happen to everyone, but I could see the incident affected him deeply. Still, I persevered in maintaining our family connections, believing that cousins should grow up knowing each other despite our differences. Little did I know that Amelia's judgment of my children was about to cross a line I could not ignore, triggering a chain of events that would forever change our family dynamics. Every year, Sophia's birthday became an increasingly elaborate affair under Amelia's direction. From professionally decorated princess parties to guided museum excursions, each celebration seemed designed more to impress adults than delight children. As Sophia's 10th birthday approached in June, Amelia began dropping hints about planning something truly special for this milestone. My boys adored their cousin despite the controlled nature of their interactions. When they heard about her upcoming birthday, they immediately wanted to create something special. One Saturday afternoon, our kitchen table disappeared under a sea of construction paper, markers, and glitter as Jackson and Tyler crafted homemade cards for Sophia. Jackson drew an elaborate picture of Sophia as a superhero, while Tyler created a card shaped like a birthday cake with 10 candles. Their excitement was contagious as they discussed what gifts they might save their allowance to buy. "Do you think Sophia would like the friendship bracelet kit at the store?" Mom Jackson asked, his face serious with consideration. "She always likes the ones I make at school." Tyler nodded enthusiastically. "And we could get her that unicorn book she was looking at when we went to the bookstore?" Their thoughtfulness toward their cousin warmed my heart. Despite the strained relationship with my sister, the children had formed their own bond, however limited their interactions might be. The following week, our parents invited the whole family for Sunday dinner at their house. These monthly gatherings were tradition, though they typically featured Amelia dominating conversation, while I tried to keep the boys from fidgeting too much during the lengthy meals. That particular Sunday seemed no different at first, with Mom serving her famous pot roast while Dad discussed local politics with Richard. Halfway through dinner, Amelia clinked her water glass with a fork to get everyone's attention. "As you all know, Sophia's 10th birthday is coming up in 3 weeks," she announced with a broad smile. "We have decided to host a garden party with a secret garden theme. Richard's law firm partners and their families will attend along with Sophia's friends from school and ballet." "That sounds lovely, dear," Mom replied predictably. "Will you need help with anything?" "Actually, I have hired an event planner," Amelia continued. There will be a string quartet, a professional storyteller, a flower crown making station, and a three-tiered cake from that bakery featured in National Culinary Magazine. As Amelia detailed more extravagant plans, I noticed my boys listening intently. Tyler leaned over and whispered, "Mom, can we help decorate for Sophia's party? I could blow up balloons really well now." I smiled and whispered back, "We will see what Aunt Amelia needs help with." What happened next still makes my stomach tighten remembering it. As Amelia finished describing the garden party arrangements, she turned directly to me with an expression that combined pity and condescension. "Brandy, I wanted to discuss something with you about the party," she said, her voice suddenly lower. "Richard and I have given this careful consideration, and we think it would be best if Jackson and Tyler did not attend this particular celebration." The table fell silent. I stared at my sister, certain I had misunderstood. "What do you mean?" I asked, my fork frozen midway to my mouth. Amelia dabbed her lips with her napkin before continuing. "The partners from Richard's firm are very important guests, and their children are quite well behaved. Sophia's party needs to be perfect. Your boys are simply too—" She paused, searching for words energetic and unpredictable. "They would be a bad influence on the atmosphere we are trying to create." Bad influence. Those two words echoed in my head as I felt blood rush to my face. I glanced at my sons, hoping they hadn't understood the implication, but Jackson's crestfallen expression told me otherwise. "Are you seriously uninviting my children from their only cousin's birthday party?" I asked, struggling to keep my voice level. Amelia sighed as if I was being deliberately difficult. "It is nothing personal, Brandy. Your parenting choices are your business, but the boys simply lack the discipline needed for such an important event. Perhaps if you implemented more structure at home, worked on their behavior issues." "Behavior issues," I interrupted, my voice rising despite my efforts to remain calm. "They are normal, active boys. What exactly are these terrible behaviors you are referring to?" "Last Christmas they ran through the house," Amelia counted off on her manicured fingers. "At Easter, they got chocolate on my sofa. Tyler laughed too loudly during family photos last month. Jackson asked inappropriate questions about Richard's colleague's wig." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. These minor childlike behaviors were apparently enough to label my sons as unworthy of attending a family event. I looked to my parents for support, but found none. My father suddenly became very interested in his mashed potatoes, while my mother wore her conflict avoidance expression. "Mom, Dad, do you think this is reasonable?" I asked. My mother cleared her throat. "Well, dear, it is Amelia and Richard's event. They can invite whoever they want." The betrayal stung worse than Amelia's exclusion. I noticed both my boys had stopped eating, their earlier excitement completely extinguished. "We should go," I said, standing up. "Boys, please get your jackets." "Brandy, don't overreact," Amelia said sharply. "You are always so emotional. This is exactly the kind of behavior the boys learn from you." I ignored her as I helped Tyler with his jacket zipper. Jackson moved robotically, his eyes downcast. As we headed for the door, I heard Sophia's small voice ask Mommy, "Why can't Jackson and Tyler come to my party? I made special invitations for them at school." I didn't stay to hear Amelia's response. The drive home was painfully quiet. In the rearview mirror, I could see Tyler wiping tears while Jackson stared out the window. Finally, Tyler broke the silence. "Mom, why doesn't Aunt Amelia want us at Sophia's party? Did we do something bad?" His innocent question cracked my heart open. I pulled into a parking lot and turned to face my children. "No, sweetie. You and Jackson have done nothing wrong. Aunt Amelia just has different ideas about parties than we do." But Sophia is our cousin Jackson, said his voice, uncharacteristically small. Family is supposed to be together for birthdays. That is what you always say. I know, honey. Sometimes adults make decisions that do not make sense. Is it because I spilled juice on her rug last time Tyler asked his bottom lip trembling? I said sorry 3 times. No, Tyler. This is not your fault or Jackson's. This is grown-up stuff that you should not worry about. But I could see the damage was already done. As we continued home, the boys quietly discussed the birthday cards they had made Jackson, suggesting maybe they should throw them away. That night, after tucking them in, I found myself sitting on my kitchen floor, crying silently with a mixture of hurt and rage. My children had been deemed unworthy by their own family, and I had failed to protect them from that judgment. Something had to change. This rejection was not something I could smooth over or ignore for the sake of family harmony. For the first time, I realized that maintaining peace at all costs was teaching my boys the wrong lesson. They deserved better, and somehow I needed to show them that. The morning after the disastrous dinner, I called in a favor with my coworker Diane to switch shifts so I could drop the boys at school and have some time to think. Once they were safely in their classrooms, I drove to a coffee shop and called Amelia, hoping a night of reflection might have changed her perspective. "Brandy, I am in the middle of client preparations," she answered, her voice, clipped and professional, as always. "This will only take a minute," I assured her. "I wanted to talk about yesterday. Surely you see how hurtful it was to exclude Jackson and Tyler from a family celebration." The sigh on the other end of the line was heavy with impatience. I thought I made myself clear. This is not just any party. Richard's senior partners will be there, people who directly influence his partnership track. We cannot afford any unpredictable elements. Unpredictable elements. They are children, Amelia. Your nephews, the only cousins Sophia has. Children who broke the crystal figurine Mom gave me last Thanksgiving, who constantly interrupt adult conversations, who cannot sit still during family dinners, Amelia countered. I have tried to be patient with your permissive parenting style, but some occasions require properly behaved children. Her words hit like physical blows. Properly behaved children, as opposed to what improperly behaved. My boys are kind, creative, and loving. They act like normal children their age. Perhaps normal in your social circle, Amelia replied, her voice dripping with condescension. But Richard and I have different standards. Even Mom and Dad agree the boys need more discipline. That stopped me cold. You discussed this with Mom and Dad before yesterday? Of course. They understand our position completely. Dad mentioned how Tyler threw pine cones in the garden during their anniversary party, and Mom said it was exhausting watching you constantly chase after them instead of having adult conversation. The revelation that my parents had been discussing my parenting behind my back sent a wave of betrayal washing over me. All those Sunday dinners where they had smiled and hugged the boys, all while judging them unworthy. Has anyone else been included in these discussions about my allegedly out-of-control children? I asked, my voice tight. Amelia hesitated just long enough for me to know the answer before she spoke. Cousin Janet mentioned the boys were quite rowdy at her son's graduation party. Aunt Patty said similar things about the family reunion. It is a general observation, Brandy, not a personal attack. Not a personal attack. My entire family had apparently formed a consensus that my children were problematic, all while smiling to my face. I ended the call shortly after sitting in my car as the implications sank in. That evening, I received a call from my mother. Amelia told me you are upset about Sophia's party arrangements, she began without preamble. Upset, Mom. She called my children a bad influence and uninvited them from their cousin's birthday. Of course I am upset. Dear, you know how important Richard's career is to them. These law firm partners are very conservative people. Perhaps this is an opportunity to work on the boy's behavior. I could recommend that parenting book I mentioned last Christmas. I gripped my phone tighter. There is nothing wrong with my children's behavior. They are normal, active boys who occasionally make mistakes like all children do. Normal is subjective, Brandy. When you were growing up, we had clear expectations for public behavior. Remember how beautifully Amelia always conducted herself at family gatherings? Never a hair out of place, always using her please and thank yous. Yes, and look how well that turned out. She is so concerned with appearances that she is willing to hurt innocent children to maintain her perfect facade. My mother's voice hardened. That is unfair. Amelia has worked very hard for the life she has. If you had applied yourself similarly, perhaps you would not be so defensive about your choices. The conversation deteriorated from there, ending with my mother suggesting I needed to grow up and accept constructive feedback about my parenting. Over the next few days, the family divide grew deeper. My father called to express his disappointment in my overreaction. Aunt Patty texted, asking if everything was okay, saying she had heard about the situation with the boys from my mother. Even my cousin Janet, who I had always been close with, sent a message suggesting a parenting podcast that had really helped with her son's attention issues. The worst came when Jackson returned from school upset, saying his teacher had pulled him aside to ask if everything was okay at home. Apparently, my Aunt Patty's daughter worked at the school and had mentioned something about family concerns regarding my parenting. The gossip had spread beyond family into our community. That evening, I overheard Tyler asking Jackson in their bedroom, "Are we bad kids?" Grandma told me on the phone, "We need to learn better manners." Jackson's response broke my heart. "I think we must be. Everyone keeps saying we are too loud and messy. Maybe that is why Dad left." I stepped away from their door, tears streaming down my face. The innocent conversation revealed how deeply the family's judgment had affected them. My sweet boys were internalizing the criticism, believing something was fundamentally wrong with them. Tyler had become noticeably quieter around family members, while Jackson had started apologizing for normal behaviors, like laughing too loudly or getting excited about his interests. The following weekend, we attended a small family gathering at my parents' house. I noticed immediately how the boys sat stiffly on the couch, barely touching the snacks offered, answering questions with whispered one-word responses. When Sophia tried to show them her new tablet, they looked to me first, as if seeking permission to interact with her. Their natural exuberance had been replaced by anxious self-consciousness. Watching them police their every movement, while Amelia nodded approvingly at their subdued behavior, was the final straw. These were not my confident, joyful boys. The family's judgment had dimmed their lights, made them doubt themselves, and I had allowed it to happen by prioritizing family peace over their emotional well-being. That night, I called my best friend Lisa, one of the few people who truly understood our situation, as a fellow single mom. "They have made my children feel like they are fundamentally flawed. Lisa," I told her, finally releasing the full extent of my anger and hurt. "Jackson actually asked me yesterday if something was wrong with them." "That is absolutely unacceptable," Lisa responded firmly. "You know your boys are amazing. This is about Amelia's insecurities, not your parenting. I have tried so hard to maintain family relationships to not rock the boat. But at what cost? Brandy, listen to me. This pattern has been going on your whole life from what you have told me. Amelia sets the standard, your parents enforce it, and you are expected to fall in line. But you are a grown woman now, and a damn good mother. Your children deserve to see you stand up for them." Her words crystallized something I had been feeling since that Sunday dinner. I had spent years accommodating my family's judgment, making excuses for their behavior, trying to earn approval that was never forthcoming. All while my children watched and learned that their worth was conditional. "You are right," I said, a new determination forming. "It is time I showed my boys what it means to value yourself, even when others do not. No more apologizing for who we are." As I hung up, an idea began taking shape. If Amelia wanted to exclude us from her perfect party, fine. But I would show my boys that rejection from others did not determine their value. I would give them a celebration that honored exactly who they were, messy, energetic, and absolutely perfect in my eyes. The idea came to me as I scrolled past a Disneyland advertisement on my phone. Jackson had mentioned wanting to go for years, and Tyler had a Mickey Mouse plush he slept with every night. What if instead of sitting at home, feeling excluded on the day of Sophia's elaborate garden party, we were having the adventure of a lifetime? I pulled up the Disneyland website and checked the dates. The weekend of Sophia's party was actually perfect timing, falling during a promotional period with slightly reduced ticket prices. Still, the cost was significant for our single-income household. 3 days at Disneyland, including hotel park tickets, food, and souvenirs, would consume most of my modest savings. I hesitated briefly, thinking about the practical uses for that money. The boys needed new school clothes for fall. The apartment could use fresh paint. My car was making a concerning noise that would eventually need addressing. But as I remembered the hurt in their eyes, the way they had started to shrink themselves to meet my family's impossible standards, I made my decision. This was an investment in their self-esteem, in showing them that they deserved joy and celebration exactly as they were. I booked the package deal before I could second-guess myself, scheduling our departure for early Friday morning before Sophia's Saturday afternoon party. The financial aspect sorted, I faced the logistical challenge of getting time off work. As a nurse working regular weekday shifts, requesting weekend days off usually required weeks of advance notice. I approached my supervisor, Maria, the next day, explaining the situation without revealing all the family drama. My sister excluded my kids from their cousin's birthday party because she thinks they are too rowdy, I admitted. I want to take them somewhere special that weekend to show them they matter. Maria, a mother of 4 herself, immediately understood. "Family stuff can be the hardest," she said sympathetically. "Let me see what I can do." Through a small miracle of scheduling and the generosity of my colleagues, we arranged coverage for my Friday and Monday shifts. Diane, who had been trying to get extra hours anyway, happily took my shifts in exchange for me covering hers the following week. With time off secured and reservations made, I faced the decision of when to tell the boys. I wanted to maximize their excitement, but was concerned about them accidentally mentioning it to family members before we left. 1 week before our trip seemed the perfect compromise. I spent that week secretly preparing, ordering special Disney t-shirts for each day, purchasing travel snacks, and researching the best attractions for their age groups. I created a folder with printed maps, reservations, and a loose itinerary that balanced structure with plenty of room for spontaneous fun. Meanwhile, Amelia continued planning Sophia's party, oblivious to my counterplot. She called twice that week, once to inform me that she had told Sophia we would be unable to attend her party, and once to ask if I could pick up some specialty party supplies from a store near my apartment. I agreed to the errand, maintaining the pretense that everything was normal, while secretly counting down the days until our escape. 5 days before our trip, my mother called to apply more guilt. "Sophia asked again why her cousins will not be at her party," she reported. "Amelia told her you had other commitments that day." I hope you are not deliberately scheduling something just to be difficult, Brandy. The boys and I have plans, I replied vaguely. Important plans that cannot be changed. More important than family. What could possibly be so important that you would miss your only niece's birthday? I swallowed my initial angry response. Mom Amelia made it very clear that my children are not welcome at this event. She cannot expect me to drop them off somewhere while I attend alone. Well, Janet said she would be happy to watch them for a few hours so you could at least make an appearance. The casual cruelty of this suggestion that I should leave my excluded children with a babysitter to attend the very event they had been deemed unworthy of left me momentarily speechless. That will not be necessary, I finally managed. We already have plans. The evening before I planned to tell the boys about our trip, I found Jackson sitting quietly in his room working on something at his desk instead of playing video games during his usual screen time. "What are you working on, buddy?" I asked. He quickly covered the paper with his arm. "Nothing." Gently, I moved his arm to reveal a carefully drawn birthday card for Sophia, even more elaborate than his first attempt. This one featured Sophia, surrounded by butterflies and flowers, with "Happy 10th birthday to the best cousin" written in his neatest handwriting. "I thought you weren't invited to the party," I said softly. Jackson shrugged, not meeting my eyes. "I am not. But she is still my cousin. I thought maybe we could mail it or something." His kindness in the face of rejection made my decision feel even more right. These were not badly behaved children. They were compassionate, thoughtful boys who deserved to be celebrated, not criticized. The next morning, I woke them up with Mickey Mouse-shaped pancakes for breakfast. As they sleepily stumbled to the table, I placed Disney park maps beside their plates. "What are these for?" Tyler asked, rubbing his eyes. "Those are to help you plan which rides you want to go on first," I answered casually. It took a moment for my words to register. Jackson looked from the map to me and back again, his eyes widening. "Mom, are we going to Disneyland?" he whispered, as if saying it too loudly might make the possibility disappear. "Yes." We leave Friday morning for 3 whole days of Disney magic. The explosion of joy that followed was worth every penny I had spent and every logistical hurdle I had overcome. They jumped up and down, firing questions faster than I could answer them. Was Space Mountain scary? Could they meet Spider-Man? How many churros could they eat? Would we stay until the fireworks? "This is happening on Sophia's birthday weekend," Jackson asked suddenly, his excitement momentarily dimming. "Is it because we cannot go to her party?" I sat down, pulling them both close. "Partly yes, but mostly because you two deserve a special celebration just for being the amazing boys you are. Sometimes when people make you feel bad about yourself, the best response is to go create your own joy." Their excitement renewed, they spent the evening poring over the park maps, creating detailed lists of must-see attractions. I watched them plotting their adventure, their recent subdued behavior completely gone, replaced by the vibrant enthusiasm that was their natural state. The next day, I carefully packed our suitcases while they were at school, hiding them in my closet. That evening, Amelia called again about party preparations. "I will need you to come early Saturday to help set up the flower arrangements," she stated, not bothering with a greeting. "The florist is delivering at 9, but they will need assembly." "I cannot help with setup, Amelia. As I told Mom, we have plans this weekend." "What plans could possibly be more important than family?" she demanded, echoing our mother's words. "You made it clear my family is not welcome at your event," I replied evenly, "so my family will be elsewhere." "You are being childish," she snapped. "This is exactly the kind of petty behavior that the boys learn from watching you." "Goodbye, Amelia. I hope Sophia has a wonderful birthday." I hung up feeling lighter than I had in weeks. For once, I was not twisting myself into knots, trying to accommodate her impossible standards while protecting my children from her judgment. We were choosing joy instead of seeking approval, and it felt wonderfully liberating. The night before our departure, the boys were too excited to sleep. I let them stay up a little later than usual, finalizing our Disney strategy. As they finally drifted off, Mickey Mouse plushies clutched tight, I carefully loaded our suitcases into the car, preparing for our early morning departure. My phone buzzed with a text from Amelia's mother says, "You are taking the boys on some sort of trip instead of helping with Sophia's party. I hope you realize how hurtful this is to Sophia." I turned off my phone without responding. Tomorrow would be about my children, their happiness, and our family of 3. The guilt trips and judgment would have to wait. We left our apartment before dawn, the boys still in their pajamas as I buckled them into the back seat. They dozed as we drove the first hour, the sky gradually lightening from black to purple to the soft gold of early morning. When they fully woke the car, filled with excited chatter and Disney songs from the playlist I had created specially for our road trip. "Mom, how much longer?" Tyler asked for perhaps the 20th time, bouncing in his seat as mountains gave way to the suburbs surrounding Anaheim. "Just about 20 minutes now," I answered, unable to keep the smile from my face. Their excitement was contagious, washing away the stress and hurt of recent weeks. "Look, I can see the top of the Matterhorn," Jackson shouted suddenly, pointing out the window. Sure enough, the distinctive peak was visible in the distance, drawing gasps from both boys. Parking and navigating the tram system took some time, but nothing could dampen their spirits. As we finally stepped onto Main Street, USA, the look of wonder on their faces made every sacrifice worthwhile. Tyler grabbed my hand tightly, while Jackson stood motionless, trying to absorb every detail of the magical scene before him. "It is even better than I imagined," he whispered. Our first day unfolded in a blur of joy. We rode Splash Mountain twice in a row, laughing hysterically as we got soaked on the second run when we deliberately sat in the front row. We spun on teacups until we were dizzy, waited patiently to meet Mickey and Minnie, and collected character autographs in the special books I had bought them. What struck me most was how well behaved my supposedly undisciplined children were. They waited their turns in lines without complaint, said please and thank you to every cast member, and even helped a younger child who dropped her popcorn by offering some of theirs. These were the same boys my sister had deemed too rowdy and unpredictable to attend a garden party. Throughout the day, I took dozens of photos and videos capturing their delight as they experienced the magic for the first time. While waiting in line for Peter Pan's flight, I uploaded a few pictures to my Instagram with the caption, "Day 1 of our surprise Disney adventure, making memories with my amazing boys." Within minutes, my phone began buzzing with notifications. Family members, friends, and coworkers all expressing surprise and delight at our unexpected trip. I noticed my mother had commented, "This seems very last minute. Hope everything is okay." Her subtle dig at my spontaneity and implied financial irresponsibility might have bothered me before, but surrounded by my children's happiness, it barely registered. We ended our first day with dinner at a restaurant where princesses visited each table. Tyler, despite his earlier claims that princesses were just for girls, was completely starstruck when Snow White asked about his favorite part of the park. Jackson engaged Cinderella in a serious discussion about how her glass slippers stayed intact when regular glass would shatter under walking pressure, making the princess laugh delightedly at his scientific curiosity. Back at our hotel, exhausted but exhilarated, the boys fell asleep almost instantly. I checked my phone to find 3 missed calls from Amelia and 1 from my mother. There was also a text from Sophia sent from Amelia's phone. "Where are you? I miss my cousins." That one tugged at my heart, knowing Sophia was an innocent party in all this. I decided to respond to Sophia's message with a photo of Mickey Mouse and a promise to bring her back something special, but I ignored the other calls. Tonight was not about family drama. It was about savoring the pure joy we had experienced. The second day of our adventure dawned bright and clear. The boys woke with renewed energy, ready to conquer California adventure. We rode the Guardians of the Galaxy attraction, braved the Incredicoaster, and met superhero characters that left Jackson speechless with admiration. Each magical moment erased a little more of the hurt that had been inflicted on them. Around 2 in the afternoon, right when Sophia's garden party would be starting, I gathered the boys for a special photo in front of Sleeping Beauty's castle. They wore their matching Disney shirts, faces glowing with happiness, Mickey ears perched on their heads. "Smile, big guys. This one is special," I told them, as I adjusted the frame to capture the perfect shot. The resulting photo was everything I had hoped for. My boys uninhibited and radiant with joy, the iconic castle behind them, and not a trace of the self-consciousness that had plagued them in recent family gatherings. I posted it immediately with the caption, "Creating magical memories with the two best boys any mother could ask for. No place I would rather be today than celebrating life with these amazing kids. Number, blessed number. Disney adventure number. Perfect day." The timing was deliberate, and I knew it. As Sophia's carefully orchestrated garden party with its string quartet and flower crowns was beginning, our unabashed celebration of simple family joy would be appearing on the social media feeds of every family member and mutual friend. The response was immediate and overwhelming. My phone began buzzing continuously with notifications. Friends and colleagues left supportive comments about what a great mom I was. Several of my cousins liked the photo. Even Aunt Patty, who had been part of the Judgment Coalition, commented, "The boys look so happy. What a wonderful surprise for them." More tellingly were the missed calls that began accumulating. Amelia, my mother, my father, Amelia, again. I silenced my phone and put it away. Today was not about them. We continued our magical day having lunch with Goofy, exploring Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and buying specially embroidered Mickey ears with their names stitched in gold thread. Throughout the afternoon and evening, I continued posting photos and short videos documenting our joy without directly mentioning why we were there instead of at Sophia's party. That evening, as we watched the spectacular fireworks display over the castle, Tyler leaned against me, his eyes wide with wonder. "Mom, is this the best day ever?" he asked. "What do you think, buddy?" I replied, putting my arm around his shoulders. "It is definitely the best day ever," he decided firmly. "Way better than some boring garden party." Jackson, more perceptive as always, took my other hand. "Thanks for bringing us here, instead of making us feel bad about not being invited to Sophia's party. I was really sad about it, but this is so much better." His honesty brought tears to my eyes. "You two deserve all the happiness in the world. Never let anyone make you feel like you are not good enough exactly as you are." Our final day at Disney was more relaxed, revisiting favorite rides, and exploring corners of the park we had missed. The boys spent some of their souvenir money on a gift for Sophia, a beautiful music box with Cinderella that played "A Dream is a Wish Your Heart Makes." Their thoughtfulness, despite their own exclusion, spoke volumes about their character. Before heading home, I posted one last photo of the three of us, Mickey and Minnie, on either side, with the caption, "Memories to last a lifetime. Reminder to self, and my boys, never let anyone dim your light to make others more comfortable with their darkness. Number, choose joy. Number, family first." As we began the drive home, I finally checked my messages. 27 missed calls. Dozens of texts ranging from Amelia's fury to my mother's guilt trips to expressions of concern from other family members. Even Richard had called something unprecedented in our family dynamic. One message from my mother stood out. Sophia was in tears when she saw your Disney pictures. How could you be so deliberately hurtful to an innocent child? The irony was almost too much. Now they were concerned about children's feelings being hurt. Where was this concern when my boys were explicitly rejected and labeled as problems? Still, I felt a twinge of regret that Sophia had been caught in the crossfire. She was, after all, just a child herself, likely with little say in her mother's decisions. I would make sure the boys gave her their gift and spent time with their cousins, soon separate from the adult drama. As we neared home, Jackson asked quietly from the back seat, "Are Aunt Amelia and Grandma going to be mad at us for going to Disney?" "Not at you, honey. They might be upset with me for my choices, but that is for me to handle. You did nothing wrong." "But we had the best time ever," Tyler added, confused by the potential conflict. "That is right," I agreed firmly. "And sometimes having the best time ever is exactly what we need, even if others do not understand." We arrived home late, tired, but filled with precious memories. As I tucked the boys into bed, surrounded by their new Disney treasures, I felt stronger than I had in years. For once, I had prioritized my children's joy over my family's approval, and the freedom was intoxicating. The confrontation that awaited would not be easy, but I was finally ready to stand my ground. My children deserved a mother who defended their worth, who showed them how to create joy rather than constantly seek validation from those who withheld it conditionally. The Disneyland photos spreading across social media had made my statement clear. We were done apologizing for who we were. The morning after our return from Disneyland, reality came crashing back. My phone displayed 42 missed calls and over 60 unread messages. Scrolling through them revealed an escalating pattern of family reaction, confusion, concern, anger, and finally outrage. Amelia's messages evolved from, "Where are you, Mother? Says you are at Disneyland too. I cannot believe you would deliberately sabotage Sophia's special day like this, too. Your immaturity and jealousy have reached new heights." My parents' texts echoed similar sentiments, with my father calling my Disney trip a childish stunt unbecoming of a mother. I made breakfast for the boys who were still riding high on Disney magic, comparing their souvenirs and reliving their favorite moments. Watching them eat Mickey-shaped waffles while debating whether Space Mountain or Guardians of the Galaxy was the better ride, I knew I had made the right decision, regardless of the family fallout. After dropping them at school, I finally called my mother, figuring she would be the most reasonable starting point. "Well, look who finally decided to acknowledge her family," she answered tartly. "Do you have any idea what you have done? Taken my children on a wonderful vacation after they were explicitly uninvited from a family event," I suggested calmly. "You deliberately upstaged Sophia's birthday party. Every guest was talking about your Disney photos instead of focusing on Sophia. Amelia had to turn off her phone because people kept asking why her nephews were at Disneyland instead of the party. I had not anticipated this particular consequence, but could not deny a small flicker of satisfaction. That was not my intention. We simply enjoyed our trip and shared our happiness, just like Amelia shares all her perfect family moments. Brandy Elizabeth, do not play innocent. You timed those castle photos precisely when the party was starting. Sophia saw them and asked why she could not go to Disneyland with her cousins instead of having a garden party. She cried for nearly an hour. That genuinely made me feel bad. I am sorry Sophia was upset. The boys even bought her a special gift. But I will not apologize for giving my children joy after they were rejected from a family celebration and labeled as problems. No one called them problems, my mother protested weakly. Amelia literally called them a bad influence and said they lacked discipline. You and Dad agreed with her assessment. How do you think that made them feel? Jackson has been asking if something is wrong with him. Tyler thought his normal child behaviors were why their father left us. The silence on the other end suggested my words had hit home. Finally, my mother sighed. Perhaps things got out of hand, but your response was immature and vindictive. My response was to protect my children and show them they deserve celebration exactly as they are. If that disrupted the perfect party narrative, so be it. We ended the call in a stalemate, neither fully conceding to the other's perspective. Throughout the day, I received more messages, including several from extended family members who seemed almost impressed by my stand against Amelia's perfectionism. Cousin Janet texted, "Saw your Disney pics. Boys looked happier than I have seen them in ages." Sometimes Mama Bear needs to roar. I was preparing dinner when the doorbell rang aggressively multiple times in succession. Through the peephole I saw Amelia standing there, her perfect appearance slightly disheveled, her expression thunderous. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door. She pushed past me into the apartment without waiting for an invitation. 20 years of friendship with Richard's senior partner, completely overshadowed by your petty revenge Disney trip, she spat, without preamble. Do you have any idea how this made us look? Hello to you too, Amelia, I replied, keeping my voice level. The boys are in their rooms if you came to see your nephews. You know, the ones you called a bad influence and banned from your daughter's party. Do not deflect. You deliberately sabotaged Sophia's birthday. Every guest was talking about your ridiculous photos. 3 different partners' wives asked me why my nephews were at Disney instead of supporting their cousin. What was I supposed to say? The truth, perhaps, that you decided they were not well behaved enough to attend your perfect party. Amelia's face flushed. I never said that. I said the event required a certain atmosphere that active boys might disrupt. You called them a bad influence, I reminded her. To their faces at a family dinner. Do you have any idea what that did to them? Tyler cried himself to sleep that night. For a moment something like guilt flickered across her face, but she quickly rallied. You are exaggerating as usual. Children need to learn that different occasions have different behavior expectations. If you had taught them proper manners from the beginning. There is nothing wrong with my children's manners, I interrupted my calm, beginning to fracture. They say please and thank you. They help others. They wait patiently in lines. They show compassion to those around them. Do you know what the Disney cast members said about them? That they were some of the most polite children they had encountered. The same children you deemed unworthy of attending a garden party. This is not about whether they say please and thank you, Amelia's voice rose sharply. This is about your deliberate attempt to overshadow Sophia's special day out of spite. No, this is about you excluding my children from a family event because they did not fit your perfect image. This is about our entire family treating my boys like they are somehow defective because they act like normal, healthy children. This is about me finally refusing to let my kids believe they are not good enough because they do not meet your impossible standards. Our voices had grown louder, and I suddenly noticed both boys standing in the hallway watching wide-eyed as their mother and aunt faced off. I took a deep breath, trying to modulate my tone. Boys, please go back to your rooms for a few minutes while Aunt Amelia and I finish our conversation. Are we in trouble for going to Disney? Tyler asked in a small voice. Before I could answer, Amelia surprised me by kneeling down to their level. No, Tyler. You are not in trouble for going to Disney. I am just upset with your mom about something else. As the boys reluctantly returned to their rooms, Amelia straightened up, her anger seemingly deflated. She sank onto my couch, suddenly looking tired. Sophia has barely spoken to me since the party, she admitted quietly. She told Richard and me that she never wanted a fancy garden party. She wanted a sleepover with her cousins and a few friends from ballet class. When she saw your Disney pictures, she asked why we could not have done something fun like that instead. This revelation stunned me. You planned that entire elaborate event without considering what Sophia actually wanted. Richard's position at the firm is at a critical juncture. The partners needed to see us as socially competent, family-oriented. She trailed off, perhaps hearing how shallow her justification sounded. So you sacrificed what your daughter wanted for your husband's career advancement and excluded my children in the process. Amelia looked away. It was not supposed to happen like this. I thought a sophisticated party would impress Sophia, too. All her classmates talked about it for weeks beforehand. Did you even ask her if she wanted her cousins there? Amelia's silence was answer enough. She asked me. I pressed on. The night you uninvited them at dinner, Sophia specifically asked why Jackson and Tyler could not come. I heard her. She made them invitations at school, Amelia admitted quietly. She had them hidden in her desk. I found them when I was checking her homework. She cried when I explained they would not be attending. The realization hit me. This was never about the boys being a bad influence. You were embarrassed by them. You were worried they would not impress Richard's colleagues with their polite conversation and perfect manners. Children at these kinds of functions are expected to be seen and not heard, Amelia said defensively. Your boys are wonderful, but they are exuberant and unpredictable. I could not risk Richard's partnership track. So you sacrificed your nephew's feelings and your daughter's wishes for social climbing, I summarized bluntly. And now you are angry because my alternative plans made your perfect party look less appealing by comparison. Amelia stood up abruptly. You have no idea the pressure we are under, the standards we have to maintain. Everything is a competition in our circle. That sounds exhausting, I said genuinely. But it does not excuse hurting innocent children. Before she could respond, my phone rang. It was my father, his name flashing on the screen. I answered, putting it on speaker. Brandy is your sister there. She left our house in quite a state after seeing more of your Disney pictures. Yes, she is here. We are discussing the situation. My father's sigh was audible. This has all gone too far. Your mother and I have been talking, and we owe you an apology. His words shocked both Amelia and me into silence. We should have spoken up when Amelia suggested excluding the boys from the party. We knew it was wrong, but we did not want to cause conflict. That was a mistake. I sat down unprepared for this turn of events. Thank you for saying that, Dad. The boys are good kids, Brandy. Energetic, yes, but good-hearted. We should have defended them, and you. Instead, we enabled a hurtful situation. Amelia stared at the phone, visibly processing our father's unexpected stance. After he hung up with promises to talk more soon, she gathered her purse, her movements stiff and controlled. I should go. Richard is waiting in the car. At the door, she paused. The boys bought something for Sophia. A musical Cinderella jewelry box. They spent their souvenir money on it. Something softened in her expression. Perhaps they could come over this weekend to give it to her. She has been asking about them. It was a small olive branch, but I recognized it for what it was. They would like that. And Amelia, next time just ask Sophia what she actually wants for her birthday. After she left, I called the boys out from their rooms. They emerged cautiously, clearly having heard portions of our heated exchange. Is everything okay? Mom Jackson asked. Aunt Amelia seemed really mad. I pulled them both into a hug. Everything is going to be fine. Sometimes adults have disagreements, but we work through them. The important thing is that I am incredibly proud of both of you, and nothing will ever change that. Even when we are loud or messy, Tyler asked. Especially then, I assured him, because that is part of being a wonderful, curious, energetic child. And I would not change either of you for all the perfect garden parties in the world. As they returned to their rooms, comforted by my words, and the promise of delivering Sophia's gift personally, I reflected on the confrontation. It had been painful and raw, but perhaps necessary. For the first time, I had refused to accept my family's judgment of my parenting or my children. And unexpectedly, that stance had begun to shift the power dynamics that had controlled our family for decades. The 2 weeks following our confrontation passed in strange, tense silence. No calls from my parents, no group texts from Amelia about family gatherings. It was as if the family was collectively processing the dramatic shift in our usual dynamics. Part of me worried about permanent damage to relationships, while another part felt relief at the break from constant judgment. The silence was broken by an unexpected text message. Not from Amelia or my parents, but from 10-year-old Sophia using her mother's phone. Hi, Aunt Brandy. Can Jackson and Tyler come play at the park on Saturday? I miss them. Her simple request melted some of the lingering tension in my heart. Whatever issues existed between the adults, the children deserved to maintain their relationship. I arranged a meeting at the neutral territory of Westfield Park, halfway between our homes. Saturday arrived with perfect weather for a playground outing. The boys were nervous, but excited, clutching the carefully wrapped jewelry box as we approached the park. Amelia and Sophia were already there, sitting stiffly on a bench. But when Sophia spotted her cousins, she broke away from her mother and ran toward them with uncharacteristic abandon. "You went to Disneyland," she exclaimed, her usual reserve completely gone. "Was it amazing? Did you meet Elsa? Did you ride all the scary rides?" Just like that, the cousins fell back into their natural rhythm, with Sophia asking endless questions about Disney while the boys shared their adventures. I approached Amelia cautiously, taking a seat beside her on the bench. "Thanks for arranging this," I said simply. She nodded, her eyes following the children as they headed for the swings. "Sophia has talked about nothing but seeing her cousins all week. She made me promise we would stay at least 2 hours." We sat in awkward silence for several minutes, watching the children play. Finally, Amelia spoke, her voice softer than usual. "Sophia told Richard and me that she feels like she cannot be herself at home, that we expect her to be perfect all the time." She swallowed hard. She said she wishes she could be more like Jackson and Tyler because they seem happy. The admission clearly cost her considerable pride. I resisted the urge to point out how often I had tried to tell her this very thing. "Kids are perceptive," I offered instead. "They internalize our expectations, spoken and unspoken." "I always thought I was doing what was best for her," Amelia continued. "Giving her advantages. I did not have teaching her how to succeed in a competitive world." "There is nothing wrong with wanting your child to succeed," I acknowledged. "But success looks different for different people. Maybe for Sophia, success includes having the freedom to be a child sometimes." Amelia watched as Sophia laughed uproariously at something Tyler said, her careful hairstyle coming undone as she raced around the playground. I cannot remember the last time I heard her laugh like that. The children played for nearly 3 hours, reluctant to end their reunion. When they finally returned to our bench, flushed and happy, the boys presented Sophia with her Disney gift. Her delight was genuine as she wound the music box watching Cinderella twirl to the familiar melody. "Mom, can Jackson and Tyler come over next weekend?" Sophia asked Amelia. "We can build that fort in the backyard you never let me make." Amelia hesitated only briefly before nodding. "I think that would be fine, as long as your aunt agrees." It was a small step, but a significant one. The following week brought another unexpected development. My father called, asking if he and my mother could visit for dinner. Unsure what to expect, I agreed cautiously. They arrived bearing the boys' favorite ice cream and new art supplies, clear peace offerings that were enthusiastically received. After the boys retreated to their rooms with their treasures, my parents and I sat at the kitchen table for a long overdue conversation. "We have been doing a lot of thinking," my father began awkwardly, "about family dynamics, about how we have treated you and the boys over the years." My mother reached across the table to take my hand. "We realized we have always held you to Amelia's standards, which was never fair to you or your children. You are different people with different strengths. We enabled a situation where Amelia's preferences and judgments became the family standard," my father continued. "That was wrong, and it hurt you and the boys." Their acknowledgement brought unexpected tears to my eyes. For years, I had craved this recognition, this validation that my different approach to life and parenting was not wrong, just different. "The boys are wonderful children," my mother added. "Energetic and spirited, yes, but also kind and thoughtful. We should have defended them when Amelia excluded them from the party. We are sorry." The apology, though overdue, was healing. We talked for hours that night, honestly addressing patterns that had existed since my childhood. They listened as I explained how their constant comparison of me to Amelia had shaped my self-image, and how their criticism of my parenting had affected my confidence as a mother. Though uncomfortable, the conversation laid groundwork for a healthier relationship moving forward. 6 months after the Disney trip incident, our family landscape had shifted significantly. The boys now visited Sophia regularly, sometimes at her house, where Amelia had gradually relaxed some of her strictest rules. One surprising afternoon, I arrived to pick them up and found all 3 children covered in mud from an enthusiastic gardening project, with Amelia laughing instead of fretting about the mess. The most unexpected change came from Richard, who confessed during a family barbecue that he had always thought my boys were perfectly normal children. Truth be told, he admitted quietly while helping me carry dishes to the kitchen. "I grew up much more like your boys than Amelia knows. My parents let me climb trees and make noise. All this perfection stuff comes from Amelia's insecurities, not mine." His insight helped me understand my sister better. Her drive for perfection wasn't malice, but fear. Fear of not measuring up, of losing control, of failing at the impossible standards she had set for herself and, by extension, her family. Gradually, Amelia began showing small signs of relaxing her grip on her carefully constructed image. She posted candid photos of Sophia with messy hair and ice cream on her face. She admitted during a sister's lunch that she had started seeing a therapist to address her anxiety about perfection. She even asked me somewhat hesitantly for advice when Sophia expressed interest in soccer, an activity Amelia knew nothing about. Most telling was the change in Sophia herself. After spending more time with her cousins in an environment where she could be herself, she blossomed. The reserved, always proper child developed a silly side, discovered a love for building things, and started standing up for her own preferences more often. Amelia reported with a mixture of pride and bewilderment that Sophia's teacher had commented on her increased confidence and leadership skills. As for my boys, they healed from the rejection more quickly than I expected, bolstered by our Disney adventure and the subsequent changes in family dynamics. They remained their authentic selves, energetic, occasionally messy, always curious, but now, without the shadow of family judgment hanging over them. Jackson stopped apologizing for his enthusiasm, and Tyler no longer asked if he was being too loud during family gatherings. My own journey of healing took longer. Years of internalizing family criticism had left deeper marks than I realized. With encouragement from Lisa, I started therapy to address my people-pleasing tendencies and learn to set healthier boundaries. I practiced speaking up when comments felt judgmental rather than swallowing my feelings to keep the peace. The Disney photos remained displayed prominently in our apartment, reminders of the weekend that had catalyzed such significant change. Occasionally, I looked at them and marveled at how a single decision to prioritize my children's joy over family approval had rippled through all our relationships. On a warm Sunday afternoon, almost a year after the infamous Disney trip, our extended family gathered at a local park for a picnic. As I watched the children playing freely, the adults conversing without the undercurrent of judgment that had previously defined our gatherings, I reflected on the lessons of the past year. I had learned that sometimes standing up for your children means rocking the boat even when every instinct tells you to maintain peace. That healthy relationships require honest communication, even when those conversations are difficult. That long-established family patterns can change, but only when someone is brave enough to break the cycle. Most importantly, I had shown my boys that they were worth fighting for exactly as they were. Not perfect, not always quiet or clean or conventionally well-behaved, but perfectly themselves. The confidence this knowledge gave them was evident in how they moved through the world, secure in the understanding that their worth was not conditional on meeting others' expectations. As the sun began to set on our family gathering, Jackson approached me with a thoughtful expression. "Mom, remember when Aunt Amelia said we were a bad influence and could not go to Sophia's party?" "I do, buddy," I answered, wondering where this was going. "I think it turned out okay in the end," he said, surprising me. "We got to go to Disney, and now Sophia gets to have more fun because Aunt Amelia is not so strict anymore. Sometimes bad things turn into good things, right?" His simple wisdom struck me deeply. You are absolutely right. Sometimes the hardest moments lead to the best changes. He ran off to rejoin the game, leaving me with a profound sense of gratitude for the journey we had taken. The pain of rejection had ultimately led to healing not just for my children, but for our entire family system. By refusing to accept the narrative that my children were somehow less worthy, I had helped create space for all of us to be more authentically ourselves. The magic had never been in Disneyland itself, though those memories would be treasured forever. The real magic was in showing my boys that they were worth standing up for, worth celebrating, worth choosing joy over approval. That lesson would serve them long after the Disney glow faded, guiding them toward authentic lives built on self-worth rather than external validation. Have you ever had to stand up for your children against family judgment? Or maybe you were the child who needed someone to stand up for you. Share your experiences in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit like and subscribe to hear more real-life stories about finding strength through difficult family situations. Thank you for listening. And remember, sometimes the bravest thing we can do as parents is simply to believe in our children exactly as they are.